Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with 10 DIY projects in boho style. This interior style is still very trendy and you can find many decor pieces in this style in almost every shop. But instead of spending a lot of money on it, I will show you a few ideas of decorations which you can create by yourself without even leaving the house. So without any further ado, let's get right into the first project. This project is super easy as I'm going to use few printed images instead of drawing it by myself. I've picked some nice botanical picture and Monstera leaf created by one line. I also have two white photo frames. To draw the leaves on the glass, I'm using this white marker pen, which is water-based. If you are talented enough or you don't worry about the mistakes, you can completely skip this process of printing the designs. I always do some sketch before I paint or draw anything, and because I'm not able to do it on the glass, I'm going for the easy option of putting the print behind the glass. Then I took the glass from my second frame and I draw the Monstera leaves. I know this is one line picture and that's how it's supposed to be done, but I'm not able to do it with this marker pen. I took the back of the frame and also I have this hemp cloth. I think this kind of fabric goes really well with boho style. I place the back of the frame on the top of my fabric, draw the line around the edges and then cut the shape out. I move the glass part back into the frame and then place the fabric on top of it. Close it all with the back of the frame. So quick and easy decoration to create. I like the contrast between the white lines and the brown fabric. For my next project, I will be using Raffia. You can find it in the garden section. I will be also using two embroidery hoops in two different sizes. One of them has to go inside of the other one, leaving quite a bit of spare space. I start with the bigger hoop. I take Raffia and measure how long pieces of it I need. Each piece I will fold in half. If the piece of Raffia is white, I just take one of it at a time. If it's small, I collect few of them together and then attach it to the hoop. I fold each piece in half and put the loop through and around the hoop. Then I take the loose parts and pull it through the same loop. Basically, I create lark's head knot. I put them really close to each other to create fuller effect. So I cover almost half of the bigger hoop. Now I'm going to repeat the process, covering half of the smaller one. I try to cut the raffia shorter than the distance between two hoops. At the moment, raffia looks a little bit like a mess and it's all over the place. So I've placed it in between the cotton pillowcase and I'm going to iron it. Small heat makes the raffia slightly softer and easy to straighten. Going from the center diagonally upwards, I cut the raffia to give it the final shape. You can always cut it a different way to achieve different look. My hoops are in different colors, so I've decided to cover them with jute yarn. I simply wrap it around both of the hoops, securing it from time to time with hot glue. I place small hoop inside the big one and connect them together. This boho wall decoration will look amazing in any size or color. To create this boho style vase, you will need any size of the glass vase, or you can even use a jar. For the base, I will be using this IKEA cork mat. And to create the whole construction, I will be using wooden barbecue skewers. At first, I have to measure how long I will need them to be. It will of course depending on the size of the glass container. They will go from the bottom up to the edge of the vase plus few extra centimeters. I always cut off the part with more pointy end. I've got quite a few of them to cover the whole mat. To glue them, I'm using hot glue. I take one piece at a time and glue it to the mat's edge. For this part, I'm using the edge of the stick which was cut, as this will be all covered, so I save the better end for the top of my vase. I glue them all around the mat, keeping the same distance between each of them. Once all the sticks are attached, I can glue the glass vase to the cork mat. Make sure to place it in the exact middle. And then I glue other ends of the sticks to the top of the glass. One stick at a time with small amount of glue. I rub the cord on the bottom of my vase to cover the glued part and also give this vase more details, and a couple of cords at the top. To create my garland, I will be using polymer clay in white color, but I'm sure air dry clay would work as good. I take small piece of this clay and create a roll which I divide into equal parts. You can choose how big you want your beads to be. Now each of these parts I roll between my hands into a ball shape. Polymer clay is quite hard, but after contact with the warmth of your hand, it becomes slightly softer and easier to work with. I've tried to roll it on the table, but the result wasn't as good, so I stick to rolling it between my hands. Amount of the balls depends on the length of the garland you want to create. I take a piece of paper and grind black pepper over it. Then I take the ball and roll it slightly on top of the paper. Because this clay is quite stickable, it easily takes all the ground pepper from the paper. Then I roll it between my hands again to push this texture more into the clay, and I repeat the process with all of my balls, adding more ground pepper on the paper from time to time. Now they are all nicely covered. I take some pointy tool and start creating the hole in the middle of each ball. The best kind of tool you could use would be some thin straw or something what actually cut the hole out instead of pushing the clay on the side like in my case. It works fine, but it slightly changed the round shape, so I have to roll it again between my hands. Once all balls have holes, which are going all the way through, I place them on the baking tray with baking paper and make sure they don't touch each other. I place them in the oven for 30 minutes at 110 Celsius degrees. After baking and cooling down, it's time to attach them to the jute yarn. To make this process quicker and easier, I take some thin wire, which will work as my needle and help me to push the yarn through the holes. I cut long enough piece of yarn for all my clay beads. At the end, I'm making double knot to stop the first bead. I'm making this knot few centimeters away from the actual end. Between each bead, I'm going to create a double knot which will hold the beads in place, like also add more details to this garland. Once all beads are added on the yarn, I'm going to create 2 tassels, one on each end of the garland. You can connect 2 ends together, creating kind of necklace, but I decided to keep them separately. I take few pieces of yarn and fold them in half. Then I take the end of the garland and connect it all together. And to secure it all, I'm making gathering knot. It's a really cute piece of decoration for your bookshelves or table, also easy and quick to do. For the base of my tray, I will be using cardboard. I take some round shape item and draw the perfect circle on this cardboard. Then using sharp scissors, I cut the shape out, trying not to bend the cardboard if possible. Using ruler, I find the center of the circle, and this will be the point where I start gluing my rope. I'm using quite thick rope, so the whole tray will be more stable and it also takes less time to glue it all down. I do small sections at the time, making sure the rope sticks nicely to the bottom and also covers the whole surface. Once the whole circle is covered, I cut the rope and glue it on the side of the previous row. I go around with the scissors to cut off any excess cardboard. To create the size of the tray, I will be using wooden rings, which are actually curtains rings. I just remove the metal loops from them. And then again, using hot glue, I attach one ring at a time in standing position. You don't need plenty of glue. Small amount keeps the ring standing nice and steady. I only glue them to the bottom. I don't stick rings together. I draw another circle, but this time it will be only as wide as 2 thickness of the cord. And I cut out the middle part. This part will create the top edge of my tray. Then I glue 2 rows of the cord around the circle. Because my cardboard was green on one side, I had to make sure to cut off the visible parts of it. And then I attach it to the rest of my tray by gluing it to each ring. Super affordable way to create a decorative tray. Combination of wooden rings and cotton cord gives boho vibe to it. The popularity of pampas grass is growing, so is the price, and for that reason I've decided to create them by myself and make them look as natural as possible. I take double-sided tape and cut its width in half. You can of course skip this process if you have narrow tape. I cut about 40 cm long piece. I put one of them on the side and one I'm going to use now. Pick the color of the yarn you want your pampas grass to be. At first I went with white, but I quickly swap it for this one. I take end of the yarn and wrap it around my 2 fingers. I cut the yarn off and then I also cut all loops I've created by wrapping it on my fingers. This way I've created few same length parts of yarn. Each piece is about 8 cm long. I glue each of them next to each other on my double-sided tape. I place them as close to each other as I can. I take wooden stick and start wrapping my tape with yarn around it. Because it's a double-sided tape, everything sticks together nicely. I wrap it around, going slightly down. Once I finish with the whole tape, I make sure that the end is tight and it secures everything. Now the most time-consuming process, which is brushing the yarn off. to make it fluffy and unraveled. The easiest way of doing it is dividing all the yarn into smaller sections and then focusing only on one of them at a time. I'm using just normal comb, but I believe pad brush might work better in this case. I also start with brushing the ends of the yarn first and then going gradually down and down, almost like brushing your hair. You start from the ends and then you brush the whole length. Once you are happy with the result of your pampas grass, you can secure the look and the fluffiness by spraying them with hairspray. Altogether, I've created 5 of them for nice and full looking bouquet. I start with creating templates. You can skip this step and draw the leaf shape straight on the brown paper. I'm going to create few of these leaves and I want them to have the same shape and size. I take 4 pieces of A4 paper and tape them together to create one big piece. Now I will draw half of the shape I need. I don't really have any set rule for that. It just have to be curved on the top and straight line on the bottom. Starting from the middle, I fold the paper to make the accordion. Each part has the same width. And I repeat the process on the other half of my paper. The leaf needs stem and to make it I'm using wooden dowel. I place it in the middle of the bottom section. Using tape I attach the dowel to the paper. I wrap it around few times to make sure it stays secured in one place. To cover the tape, I take small piece of brown paper and glue it around the dowel. You can create different sizes and shapes of your leaves. It all depends on the shape you cut out of the paper in the first place. To change the look of my 1 pound round mirror, I will be using wooden skewers which I found in a barbecue section for 1 pound as well. As my drawing shows, I'm starting with the longest sticks. For the parts which are sticking out, I will be using the straight end of the skewer. I cut it slightly shorter and attach to the back of the mirror with hot glue. I measure the length of the whole stick and the sticking out part, and then I transfer these measurements onto a new stick, which will go on the opposite side. Then I glue another stick halfway between the long ones. And this one measures half of the previous one. Then following my design, I attach more and more sticks all around the mirror. Each one is shorter than the previous one, and I also try to keep the same distance between the stick so it looks tighter and more high-end. Half of the mirror is done and the other half I'm starting the same way, from the longest stick all around to the shortest. To be able to hang this mirror on the wall, I created a loop which I attach at the back of the mirror with a lot of glue. And to cover the whole back, I cut out a round piece of cardboard and glue it. To add more bohemian touch, I took cotton rope which I interlace between the sticks. I've made 2 rows, each one starts from different side. To create my palm leaf, I will be using brown greaseproof paper. You can use a white one if you prefer your leaf to be white. I'm placing it flat on the worktop and fold it about 15 centimeters away from the edge and then cut it out. To protect my worktop, I've put some cardboard under the piece of paper. So now I've got square piece of paper divided into 2 equal parts. I'm going to use Mod Podge because that's something what I already have, but you can use any kind of glue which goes transparent once it's dry. Using brush, I apply the glue only on the one part of my paper. I cover it all up, trying to put even layers of the glue. I've got this wire in gold color, but you can use floral wire or any other which is quite thin and flexible. I need it to be as long as my piece of paper is, plus a few centimeters extra on the bottom to be able to place it later inside the vase. Then I double it up to make it a bit stronger but still flexible, and I twist it together. I place the wire in the middle of the glue paper and then fold the other part. Make sure the wire is straight and in the middle. Press it down, making sure 2 parts are now glued together. Leave it till fully dry. After drying, the paper became stronger than before. With the marker pen, which is more visible than pencil, I draw the shape of the leaf. The wire inside is the center of my leaf. Using scissors, I cut this shape out. I fold it in half along the wire and cut it on the angle toward the wire. Each cut is about 1 centimeter apart and almost goes all the way to the wire. I unfold the paper and I cut each individual strap into shape with pointed end. Once it's all cut nicely, I bend the wire a little bit in all directions so it looks more organic and realistic. I love Monstera plant and everything with its leaf shape on, so I've decided to use my thrifted frame and paint abstract Monstera. This is nice wooden frame. I just removed the front glass from it. And as my canvas, I will be using the back of this frame. I remove it from now and slightly sand down the frame. I want to get rid of any dirt and also give this wood lighter shade. To draw a perfect Monstera leaf, you can print some templates and just trace around them. I'm using pencil and try to draw it myself. I'm not the best when it comes to painting using my memory or imagination, but I'm quite alright when I look at some object or picture and then copy it. For this painting, I want to create 2 Monstera leaves, which are almost touching each other with their tips. There is many different techniques and ways to paint it. You can paint it whole in one color at first and then paint the leaves on top of it. I will be playing more of the coloring and paint the background first and then Monstera. For the background, I've mixed white acrylic paint with few drops of brown color. I wanted to achieve warm, kind of beigey color. Using sponge, I applied the paint around the leaves. I'm using sponge for the bigger parts as it doesn't leave that many lines like the paintbrush does. Once background is painted, I start creating the edges of my Monstera. For this part, I'm using black paint. Then I color the inside of the leaves. It's a very easy design and you don't need special painting skills. Because of its minimalistic look, it almost looks like a print. Okay guys, I hope you enjoy all of the projects. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more DIY ideas. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video.